Hulu said that season 6 of The Handmaid's Tale would be the last one of the show. Do you realize we'll have to wait until the next season to see how it all ends? But fear not, dear friend, for we have you covered with some shows that'll make you feel the same strong whirlwind of emotions. So, while we're waiting, let's look at some shows that tackle similar oppressive systems as The Handmaid's Tale and show us the harsh realities of life. First off, we've got Mad Men, 2007 to 2015. The series takes place in the 1960s and 70s, trying to show how divided people were at the time through office politics and each character's journey into their past. Don Draper, played by John Hamm, is the main character of the show. As he gets more powerful as an advertising executive at Sterling Cooper, he struggles with his identity. There are several other characters, including ones played by Elizabeth Moss, Christina Hendricks, and January Jones. They're shown to have their own problems and relationships as the series continues. But just like The Handmaid's Tale, this show looks at problems in male-dominated structures, such as gender roles, and the assumptions that come with them. It's fascinating how they show us all that in the small setting of an advertising company. And as the women in the office realize that they've simply just settled for the bare minimum, they don't back down and start a feminist movement to show them who the real boss is. It's a must-watch that'll grip you right off your feet in the first half. Up next, let's talk about 3%, 2016 to 2020. 3% is a post-apocalyptic world where young people fight like they did in the Hunger Games. You could say it's another dystopian series that depends on social ranking for survival. It features stars like Rodolfo Valente and Bianca Comparato, and it revolves around an underground group called The Cause that tries to bring down the system by revealing the secrets of the elite. In the 4 seasons of the show, they fight against those on top. In a remote part of Brazil, poor 20-year-olds have the chance to take part in a tradition called The Process. The Process is a series of tests that show a person's worth, and only the top 3% of each class pass. When the process is finished, people will be able to move to the offshore, which is a technologically advanced, environmentally engineered society that helps people get out of poverty. And what matters most is that there are plenty of social currents and Machiavellian wickedness to keep us on the edge of our seats till the last episode. So what are you waiting for? Go watch the first episode right now. Moving on to The Underground Railroad, 2021. Historical fiction has never been as scary as The Underground Railroad, an Amazon miniseries that shows how black people were treated in America during the 1800s in a white supremacist society where the slave trade was still going on. It's about 2 slaves, Cora and Caesar, and their journey from a Georgia plantation to freedom, while famous slave catcher Arnold refuses to let their escape ruin his reputation. Although The Handmaid's Tale is a fictional dystopia of the patriarchal dream, it's still based on bits and pieces of what women have gone through in the past. And this show has a similar take on oppression. It focuses on the dark, obvious truth for African Americans during the time of American slavery, and the effects of which are still shown today. And while the journey to get away from oppression may be scary, it's an important story to find out. We promise you, it's gonna be worth it. Now for Mrs. America, 2020. Mrs. America is another show about women fighting for equality in a society dominated by men. It's a dramatic retelling of Phyllis Schlafly's life. She was a well-known person in the 70s, and she worked against the feminist movement and the Equal Rights Amendment, which would have protected women from discrimination based on their gender. The show's largely influenced by the second wave feminist movement, which talks about how power is used. It focuses on all those super strong women who were important to the movement. In fact, Gloria Steinem, Betty Friedan, Shirley Chisholm, and Bella Abzug each have their own episode. So it's a series that takes people to the front lines of oppression and has a complicated conversation about how social change goes in waves. Not to mention, Orange is the New Black, 2013 to 2019. Orange is the New Black is a comedy drama that's been on for 7 seasons. But don't let that fool you. The show is often compared to The Handmaid's Tale, with the amazing cast of Taylor Schilling, Laura Prepon, and Uzo Aduba. It's about life in a prison for women, only where corruption and violence are at the top of the power structure, and things like racial discrimination, ethical living arrangements, and other issues of health and safety are often at the forefront of the prisoners' lives. So just like how we saw in The Handmaid's Tale, where women are oppressed in different ways, they start to realize that they'll only get justice if they fight hard against the system. Not just this, but it also shows a wide range of people are stuck in the prison system, no matter the orientation, race, ethnicity, or social class. All in all, Orange is the New Black is one of the greatest and super realistic shows because it reveals people from different backgrounds in their unique ways. Let's not forget to talk about The Man in the High Castle, 2015 to 2019. Alternative histories are always interesting because they answer the what if questions about how things turned out. The Man in the High Castle is based on the novel of the same name by Philip K. Dick. It shows a terrifying version of World War II in which Germany and the Empire of Japan win the war and take power in 1962. Germany's in charge of the East Coast and the middle of the United States, and Japan's in charge of the West Coast. And in between the two is a neutral zone. It comes off as a dystopian science fiction show like The Handmaid's Tale that looks at how people in power show the worst parts of humanity, even though they're integrated. Non-Japanese citizens in territories that are occupied by Japan face racial discrimination and fewer rights. And in German-occupied areas, genocide and purification, in which ethnic minorities and people with mental and physical issues are killed, are still going on. So throughout the series, members of the resistance work to bring down the Reich and its allies. Coming up, The Act, 2019. Personal oppression can happen in the home, as The Act shows. This one-season true crime show looks into the famous case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and the murder of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. The story shows how naive Gypsy changes when she learns that her whole life is a lie and that her mother controls her in ways she never thought were a problem. When Dee Dee starts to think that her daughter is very sick, she makes her life even harder than it was before. Over time, she gets sicker and sicker. She has cancer, epilepsy, and muscular dystrophy, to name a few, and she has to use a wheelchair because of it. But when her family moves to Missouri, she sees her true potential and wants to be independent. This makes her want to be a rebel. So it's a series that'll leave you feeling something. It's a tough watch, but the tale has to be told. Following that, we've got The Plot Against America, 2020. The Plot Against America is a 6-part miniseries that takes place in America between 1940 and 1942. It stars Winona Ryder, Morgan Spector, and Zoe Kazan. The show's about a Jewish working-class family called the Levins, who slowly starts to realize that their country's turning against them. Charles Lindbergh, played by Ben Cole, is elected president, and even though the United States was neutral in World War II, the country's now facing a wave of fascism that promotes racism and hatred, just as it did in Germany. The oppression in The Plot Against America comes in the form of anti-Semitism. Those who are discriminated against must do everything they can to live in a world without hatred, even though Nazi-like plans are being spread across the country. With a story that revolves around a family being torn apart by racism, they do whatever it takes to fight it. And with that, they take us on an emotional roller coaster. Next, we have Harlots, 2017 to 2019. Harlots is much like The Handmaid's Tale in the sense that it also focuses on women trying to break down the patriarchy and the power it has over them. In the 1700s, women either got married or did work to help the economy. This is what the period drama is based on. Margaret Wells and Lydia Quigley are both brothel owners who compete with each other. They fight to stay in business and keep their jobs. And it's interesting how Harlots shows work in a positive light, where women feel empowered by their work and oppressed by those in power. So basically, it's a revolutionary way to look at a subject that can be controversial, with problems related to their social status, money, and men who try to be in charge. The show has an amazing take on strong and assertive women. And finally, let's talk about Layla 2019. Layla is a dystopian drama miniseries with Huma Qureshi, Seema Biswas, and Siddharth. It's also been called the Indian version of The Handmaid's Tale. The series is about a mother who tries to find her daughter, who was taken hostage by a powerful, totalitarian government because of environmental problems. The government has rules that put people into groups based on how similar they are. Seems familiar, doesn't it? Layla shows a world where walls divide the rich from the poor, and where children with mixed heritage are taken away. Women are sent to be purified, which means they are forced to work and given drugs every day, while religious beliefs and practices are taught. Just as June, looking for Hannah, leaves her fighting the patriarchy, Shalini's search for Layla uncovers a dark side of humanity, where the real dystopia is when we try to sell utopia. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. What did you think about all these shows that take on oppression? Are there any that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.